Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In this lesson we will be focusing on creating some more obstacles, because a game with only one kind of obstacle is kinda boring. We will also be editing the script that spawns the clones, so that it spawns one random object from our pool of obstacles. Let's start by creating one obstacle from the sprites. Open up the Place Scene Sprites in the Sprites folder and find these 4 sprites. Drag them into the scene individually. First we want to rename them so that their names represent their color. The same thing that we did with the circle obstacle. So this is going to be yellow, red, cyan, and magenta. The next thing that we want to do is select all of them and change the scale to 0.5. While they are all still selected, we can go ahead and assign an obstacle tag to them. It's a tag that we already created. We can also click on Add Component, Physics 2D, and choose Capsule Collider 2D. We can see that the yellow and cyan one turned out fine, but the red and magenta one are really weird. So select them and in the direction change it from vertical to horizontal, and they will be fine as well. The next thing that we want to do is to assemble them properly. Again, we want them to be close together, but we don't actually want them to be touching. Make sure to select all of them again and check the Is Trigger option to enabled. Once you are happy with the result of positioning them, you'll need an empty game object like in the small circle and a holder like the small circle holder. So let's not waste time by creating them again. We can just click on the small circle holder and press Ctrl+D to duplicate it. And once it's duplicated, select these obstacles and delete them. Next thing that we want to do is to drag this down so the circle obstacle is parallel to this. And then we want to select these obstacles and drag them into the small circle that we copied. Then we can rename it to small rectangle. And we can also rename this to a small rectangle holder. Once you are happy with the result, make this into a prefab. Simply select it and drag it into the prefabs folder. Then we can go ahead and delete it from the starting plate. Now we have 2 different kinds of obstacles, but the script that's spawning them will actually just spawn the circle right now, so we need to edit it. That script is called the obstacle cloner. Open it up in Visual Studio, and once it's open we want to add 2 new variables. They are also going to be public game objects. The first is going to be the small rectangle prefab, and the second one is going to be the small rectangle spawn point. This part of the code will actually be the same, but the only thing that we need to do is to introduce a new random integer value. So we are going to have an integer called ran, which equals to random.range, and inside of the brackets we want to start from 0, including 0, up to the number of obstacles that we created, which is 2 at the moment, excluding 2, which means this value can either be a 0 or a 1. So that will give us a 50-50 chance to spawn one of the obstacles that we created. It's the same trick as we did in the color change at the beginning. So if this value is 0, we want to go ahead and spawn the rectangle. Don't make this foolish mistake aside, make sure you have 2 equal signs. And we'll write a small comment here indicating that this is a circle. If it's not 0, we could simply just type else, but since we are probably going to add more obstacles later on, let's type else if ran equals to 1. Then we'll be instantiating another object, which is the small rectangle prefab at the small rectangle spawn point location with .transform, .position, and the rotation will also be small rectangle spawn point .transform, .rotation. Make sure you save it. We have already assigned the script to an object, but we didn't assign the new variables that we introduced. To do that, click on the half screen game object and find the script that we attached. We can see that the small rectangle prefab and the spawn point are empty. So first we'll need to create a spawn point because we don't actually have one. We can just duplicate this one by Ctrl+D or Command+D on Mac, and we can rename it to small rectangle spawn. And we want to move it a bit up. So now click on the half screen again to assign the variables. In the prefab, drag the small rectangle holder, and in the spawn point, drag the small rectangle spawn. If we click play, it should work properly now.